All right, let's go, people.
All right, let's go, baby.
The Nikki and Fitz Show,
Right.
Season 1, Episode 9. Nikki, can you remind our very small guests what the theory behind this show is and what we believe in? Don't forget college basketball, Nick, because that's starting soon.
Right, that's starting soon, but we're still on football. So
Yes.
The theme for the football show is pure USDA 100% football, bone on bone, tackling, blocking, rivalries, intensity. Games like this weekend, like 2 weeks ago, you had the Red River Riot in Dallas. And this week you have the world's largest cocktail party in Jacksonville, Florida, between the #1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs and the Florida Gators. Always a good time, right?
All right, good. That's people need to know that's what it's about. With a gambling edge, we like to
with a gambling edge, right? We do discuss the games as we go through the games. We do discuss the point spreads.
Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. So, how badly did I miss on both of my picks? I mean, Penn State. Let's talk about that Penn State Ohio State game, man. So upsetting.
So I drove down to the betting parlor. I made a wager on Penn State, and the first series of the game, Drew Aller faded back, and you could kind of tell that they were in a little bit of trouble. The Buckeyes, 2 cornerbacks. I think they had one guy's out. And these guys are, I think, at least one of them was a substitute, and the Penn State Nittany Lions wide receivers could not shake them. Yeah. They could not. Part of it was Aller did not play great, but he didn't have a lot of open targets. And it was.
They didn't run the ball either, right? I mean, they're running.
They
I think Ohio State said, we're going to stop the run, try to beat us in the air.
Right. Yeah. So full credit to defensive coordinator Jim Knowles at Ohio State. He had a good plan, and they executed it well. The score was 20-12, I think. It really should have been was really 20-6.
Yeah. I watched some of that in Philly. I went to visit my son, went up to Temple for a game, and I just thought, man, Penn State, Aller looked like a freshman or a sophomore. He looked young. He looked inexperienced, deer in the headlights, and couldn't make the big throws. I actually think Maryland has a chance against him when we play him in a couple of weeks. Because if we use that same rationale of stop the run, don't let him beat you on the ground, and let this guy try to beat you, I don't think he can beat you. And their defense is still really good, though. I mean, they shut Ohio State down pretty much the whole game. And Ohio State had a couple plays. That Marvin Harrison, though, man, that's the best player in the country.
Right, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, he's a dude.
He's a dude, man. So I called that one. The other game that I thought would be closer was the Criminals against Duke. I thought Duke would play them tough, and they did. But
they did.
The quarterback Riley being hurt, that hurt. Riley Leonard, that hurt, man. I mean, he played, he gutted it out, and he came out for a little bit. But FSU looked pretty good. I mean, FSU looked like they're lining up, trying to get a playoff spot. I think I like their chances to win the ACC and go undefeated the rest of the way.
I do too.
Yeah, they look like they're legit, man. Mike Norvell got some shit going there in Tallahassee, and if they win big and make a playoff run, the recruiting floodgates will open in Florida. He could be pretty. They could be pretty formidable here for the next few years.
Definitely.
With that pipeline in Florida. Miami, I called that. Want to go over the picks for last week real quick?
Sure. For me,
7-6, 7-6 for me. I'm like hovering right above the Mendoza line every week. To me, it's hard. I don't know
right.
what to
It
tell
is
you. It's
hard.
hard.
It is hard.
Minnesota beating Iowa. I called it one of my worst losses of the week for a ranked team to lose. The Mini, who was what they were 2-5 or 3-3, whatever they were terrible.
Right.
They beat Iowa. I watched some of that game. Iowa had a punt return at the end of the game. I don't know if you saw that.
I did.
Called back. It
Right.
it didn't look like a fair catch. He kind of waved his arms like this, which I guess it's not quite up in the air, but this is considered fair catching it. I didn't know
Right.
that. So that kind of sucked for them, but I called that win because of the point spread, not because
Nicely done, right?
I didn't think they'd win.
Good job.
I thought Ole Miss would play Auburn. I mean, I thought Auburn would play Ole Miss tougher. They kind of played them for a half tough and then caved. Called Utah getting 7 over USC. That you want to elaborate on that game a little bit, Nick?
I think that was just, I think I was on the money with that game. That's a coach who's been there 19 years in Willingham at Utah.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of time to build his program and has it as he wants it. And versus a coach, Lincoln Riley, who's a good coach, but he's only in his second year. And I think he's they've taken, you know, when they line up against a good physical team like Notre Dame, nothing fancy, or Utah, they're going to get knocked around a little bit, and they did the last 2 weeks
with a backup quarterback too.
Right.
Who looked pretty good. I mean,
right.
You're right. Utah's built a program. They actually got a program, a national program now. That's not
right
a fly-by-night type of program. So they won outright. I mean, it wasn't. I got them with the points, but they won outright. I would have never taken them on the money line. I thought USC would beat them. I picked Michigan State, thinking a rivalry game. They're going to play tough, and we got to talk about Michigan. And they just bumping people.
Right.
I mean, their defense is stout, and Michigan State's terrible. But would they lose 49-0 to Michigan? That should never happen in that game.
Yeah.
I don't remember it ever happening in that game. That game's usually pretty tight, man.
Right. Yeah.
And then of course your pick, the under in the Houston, Texas game.
Yeah,
it was a great call, man. And you're 7-2 now for the year. If I would have put a couple units every week on your picks, I'd be rich.
Right, but that was when during the season you're going to have a bad beat where you lose one you should have won. This is the opposite. Houston was driving for the score that would have put the game over, and it looked like they had it, they ran it, and it was, you couldn't really tell exactly, like there was a scrum with the players, but it looked like Houston was in good shape. And then they said no, they didn't get it on a run on third down, so they threw it to the flanks on fourth down, and the guy, it was an incomplete pass. So then Texas took over and ran out the clock. But it was a strange game. I mean, Texas went up 21-0, playing lights out, and then Houston came back and tied it 21-21, and then it went sort of back and forth. Not back and forth, but it was lower scoring than you thought. And then Houston knocked Ewers out of the game, the Texas quarterback.
Yeah, that's not good if he's out for a long period of time. Even though the backup is good, and I guess the Manning kid's third string now. I thought he was second string, so he's third string now. Yeah. He's going to be in the portal. I'll predict it right now. He will be in the portal at the end of the year, and he will be transferring to Ole Miss.
Okay, I believe that. Sure,
right there.
Sure.
So we had that game. Talked about Penn State. I took them on the money line. They lost. Duke lost. I took SMU late 19.5 against Temple. I know the Temple team. They lost 55-0. Blowout in Philly. We never went.
Philadelphia?
It was fun. We didn't go to the game.
Okay.
But we had a great tailgate. Ian, all his buddies showed up. We
Good.
took care of them, plenty of food, plenty of drink. Then we went back to their house and watched the Phillies game at their house with a bunch of their friends. We got out of there by the fourth, fifth inning. I was exhausted. I mean, I'd just flown in from Texas that morning.
Right.
Kelly picked me up at the airport. We drove straight to Philadelphia. I didn't even come home. So I was pretty beat, but I rallied to like 11, then I hit the wall.
Got it.
And then Miami, I really liked Miami. I didn't think Van Dyke was out. I didn't know Van Dyke was out, but I liked Miami at home. I told you they'd bounce back. I thought they would after getting drummed by UNC, and they beat
Right.
Clemson at home. I like Wisconsin 2.5. They won by 3. I thought that game wouldn't be as close. And I thought Oregon would drum Washington State, but Washington State looks like they put the wheels on a little bit, right? They got beat,
Right.
but it wasn't so bad.
Right.
Tennessee, that's a game I want to talk about a little bit.
Okay.
Because I watched that, some of that, and I watched the highlights of it. I mean, they're up what, 17 at half or something? They're up big at half, right?
Right. Right.
And then Bama defense just shuts them out the rest of the game. And then
27-0.
in the second half, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit, because Bama, they got like 9 lives. They won't die, man. They keep fighting, and that's part of Saban. Also, he's a fighter. He's a tough coach. But Georgia, their main guy, their tight end, Bowers.
Yeah, Bowers. Right.
He's out for the year. He had surgery. He's done.
Right.
He's like their weapon. I mean, he's the Marvin Harrison of that team.
Right.
Without him, man, they're gonna have a hard time against Bama. Roll Tide.
Right.
You know that. So we'll see what happens there. And then a pick that I had was UVA over UNC. Not beating them, but with a 22.5. I thought that would be a close game. It was. And in the end, UVA beat them. I watched like 20 minutes of that game on the highlight reel. I was shocked how physical UVA was with UNC. Looked, they were sleepwalking that game. Did you watch any of that?
I did not. I didn't watch a bit of it.
It was sad.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they were ranked 10th. Yeah, let me look up. Yeah, 10th ranked UNC. They basically it seemed like they took the game off after beating Miami, and they got whooped.
Do they play Florida State this year? I don't know. I mean, with the schedules, I don't know who plays who anymore.
I don't know. I have written down they play Georgia Tech in Atlanta this week. I don't know beyond that in front of me.
Hang on, let me look real quick. Tickets. I'm trying to see if they play them this season, because 2023. Yeah, they do play them. When do they play them though? Hang on, let me look it up.
All right.
They play.
I'm glad you had a good trip up to Philadelphia.
Yeah, man, it was really good. So they play Georgia Tech this week, and they play Campbell. Then they play Duke November 11th. No, they don't play Florida State. They play Clemsonville November 18th. And then they play the Wolfpack in Raleigh on the 25th. So they don't play them, which probably good for them. But I guess they would play them in the ACC championship game if they make it that far, right? As a second seed.
Right.
Because I don't think Florida State loses. I mean, Florida has to still play Miami. I don't know if they play in Miami or Tallahassee. If it's in Tallahassee, they're going to kill them. And then they still got to play Florida, which is always a tough rivalry game. So, I mean, it was a good week. I mean, a lot of intriguing games, man, but the upsets are just unbelievable. I watched a little bit of that UCF Oklahoma game also. I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of that.
I saw a little bit of it, yeah.
I don't know if they were sleepwalking, but UCF missed a couple field goals. I mean, they should have won the game.
Right.
And they went for 2 at the end. to tie the game, right? And miss
Right.
that. But Oklahoma's undefeated still. They look good, but these teams are just barely trickling over the finish line, right? Against mediocre competition.
Right.
UVA was 1-5 with some
Right. Right.
bad
Yeah,
losses.
you said UVA was bad. They're bad.
They're a bad team, and
Right.
they beat UNC. So
Right.
UNC's not they're undefeated, but they were a weak undefeated team.
Right.
So this week, man, we got another great week, man, of unbelievable games.
Yes. Let us begin. First of all, I wanted to just note one last thing.
Yeah.
Army at LSU in
Yes.
Baton Rouge, the United States Military Academy at West Point. LSU running up the score. I don't know if they ran up the score, but 62-0. I'm sorry, 62-0 against one of the service academies is not a good look. And
Well,
that's all.
That's Brian Kelly.
Right.
Terrible human, great football coach.
Right.
That's
right.
Brian Kelly. BK,
right.
as they call him down there.
Right.
He's a piece of crap. I hate
right.
that guy. He's trash.
Right.
He's a trash
Okay.
human.
Okay, that was my last. I just wanted to run that by you from last week. Now on to this week's slate.
Let's do this thing.
All right. I just want to get your thoughts on a few games.
Okay.
A Thursday night game. Syracuse and Virginia Tech, not two great teams. In Lane Stadium in Blacksburg. What do you think of that game?
2.5, right? Is the spread?
Yeah.
I think Virginia Tech wins going away. I think Syracuse has kind of come off the rails, man, to be honest with you. They were exposed for some reason. Something happened where they were exposed and they haven't been good ever since. I think they've lost 3 or 4 straight in a row. And Virginia Tech plays tough at home. And they're actually starting to play pretty good.
Okay.
The schedule got easier too, though.
Right.
The ACC has some weaklings in that conference.
Right.
So I like Tech at home. And that's actually a big Thursday night at Tech is supposedly like one of the things you need to do if in your lifetime you're a college football fan. Go to a Thursday night at Tech. They start playing that song. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's supposedly incredible. Everyone comes fired up. Okay. So yeah, I think Tech beats them. Okay.
So then moving right on to Saturday. Houston at Kansas State. These are the noon games, noon Eastern. Houston at Kansas State. The idea is Houston done after playing Texas close and losing?
What's the number there?
Yeah, 17.5.
Who's favored?
Kansas State. I'm
gonna take Houston in the points, man. I don't think they're done. I think Houston plays K-State. K-State, they don't really score that much. They're always good defensively. Right. I think Houston plays them tough. Probably loses because it's in Manhattan, but I like Houston to cover there to take the 17.5.
Okay, so next stop on the tour, we're going to go from Manhattan, Kansas to Evanston, Illinois, where we have Maryland at Northwestern.
Right, and that's a big number too, right?
13 I think it's 13.5, yeah.
And I love the Terps more than anything in the world, but I'm going to take Northwestern there to play it tight. I think we beat them, but I don't think it'll be a close game.
Okay.
We're on the road. We're on the road in the Big Ten's hard as shit. I think we do win the game because their program's kind of in turmoil, but they are 3-3 or 3-4 this year. So they're not, they could be really 0-7, to be honest with you.
Okay, then
they'll play us tough.
Okay, good insight, Fernando. And then we got to go back to Kansas for the Oklahoma Sooners at the Kansas Jayhawks in Lawrence.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this one.
It's got a high over under 65.5.
Ooh.
And Oklahoma favored by 10.
So does Oklahoma rebound off that UCF kind of sleepwalking, or Are they still sleepwalking? Because Kansas is a pretty good team, right? They've been good recently, the last
Right.
couple of years.
Right.
I'm gonna take Oklahoma in a beatdown. I think they
Okay.
wake up and realize they got to play better than they did against UCF. The 65.5, I don't know what to make of that. We still need to get your lock, by the way. So are you
Right. Right. Right.
building up to that?
I'll give that laugh.
All right.
Okay. So then moving on to the 2 p.m. Eastern games, the Clemson Tigers at the NC State Wolfpack. NC State is a home underdog of 10.
I'm gonna take State there.
Okay.
I think Clemson's toast. Their quarterback is okay. NC State plays good at home. Their defense is always pretty decent. I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say they're gonna win on the money line. I think they beat them straight up. I think Clemson's done.
Not a pretty good pick.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the next pickup is a pretty good fight scuffle. 3:30 p.m. The number 9 Oregon Ducks at the number 13 Utah Utes. Utah is about a 6.5, basically a touchdown underdog, 6.5.
Wow. The Oregon, man, that is a tough pick. What do you like there? Because I know you follow the Pac-12 pretty hard.
I would go with Oregon there. I think Utah, they were low scoring against UCLA. Utah does have a tough D though. They're both tough Ds.
The thing I think with going into Salt Lake to play Utah is that altitude thing I think comes into play in the second half. I thought USC looked a little tired in that second half, Nick.
Right.
So I am going to take Oregon as well. I think they win by a touchdown or more. I think they're really good offensively, and they're going to score some points against Utah, and hopefully hold them down. I think they're a lot better than USC, Oregon. So I think they go there and win.
Okay, sounds good. And then we got to go back down to Florida, to the Sunshine State, where we have the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs against the Florida Gators in Jacksonville for the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
What's that number?
And the number is 14.5, a little over 2 touchdowns.
All right, and I'm gonna take Florida. They're getting a number. I think they lose, but I think they keep it close.
Okay.
I think Brock Bowers being out, and by the way, that's the road trip of the week this week. If you want to go somewhere, that is where you should be, in Jacksonville, and we're gonna go there. I think I'm going there next year. You should come with me.
Okay.
I definitely want to do that one time. I think Bowers being out it's going to hurt Florida. I mean, it's going to hurt Georgia, and Florida is going to be. I think it's going to play them tough. I think Georgia wins it because their defense is so stout. But I like Florida to keep it close. I don't think they'll win, but I like them to keep it close.
Okay.
So tell us a little about Jacksonville, Nick. I know you went to school there.
So I lived there for a short period, many years ago, but I have vivid memories of of this week. The RVs will start rolling into town on Wednesday, and they won't go home until Sunday. It is known as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, and it did not get that a nickname by accident. It is Jacksonville beaches are nice. Neptune Beach, Jacksonville Beach, Ponte Vedra, Amelia Island, they're all very nice. It's a pretty easy airport to fly into. This weekend, you're going to pay more at the hotels. You just have to bite the bullet on that because that's the way it is. I mean, this is one of I think there are only 2 good big rivalries where they meet at a neutral site. This one and Oklahoma, Texas.
Yeah, right.
And I can't think of another one. And This is a good one. I mean, these are two story, they both won national titles, multiple national titles.
Yeah.
And football is important at both places.
Oh yeah.
And it's reflected in the game. It's usually a good game.
It is. It is.
Both sides bring their fan bases en masse. It's a big party weekend in Jacksonville, and it should be a fun game.
If memory serves me right, I think last year's game was pretty close, and everyone thought Florida would get blown out, right?
I don't even, I just don't remember. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I think it was close. Yeah. They won. Georgia obviously won, but I thought it was a tight game. And Georgia's not as good as they were last year. They don't have the same talent they had last year.
Right.
Great golf too, as well in Jacksonville to add one more piece.
TPC Ponte Vedra, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I played Sawgrass like a month ago. Actually, it was nice, very nice.
Good.
All right, so I like Florida there with getting the points. I think they're gonna. I don't think they get blown out.
Okay.
What do you got next?
We got to go north to Kentucky. Number 21, Duke at Louisville. At the Ville. The Ville is a 4.5-point favorite.
Well, if Leonard's still out, then I'm going to take the Ville, which I think he might. I mean, I don't know if he's still out, but the kid's a gamer. I'm going to take Louisville at home. I think they play really good at home. They beat a good Notre Dame team at home. Then they went to Pitt and got waxed. So I like Louisville there.
Okay, the Ville. All right.
The Ville.
Now, the next one is an intriguing game. Pitt at Notre Dame. Is there an injury here? Is there something we don't know? It's 20.5 points Notre Dame favored by.
Wow. I don't know if there is. The one thing with college athletics is they don't have to tell you about injuries like the pros. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Right.
They kind of keep that on the down low. You don't really find out till like right before the game that the kid's not playing.
Right.
And so maybe there is, obviously the betting public, the betting establishment knows about it.
Right. Right.
The average Joe fan does not know about it. So I'm gonna take at Notre Dame, you said?
Yeah.
Narduzzi's not gonna lose by 20.5 at Notre Dame. I'm gonna take Pitt with the number.
I'm gonna go with that, and I'm gonna book it and make it the pick of the week.
Get the fuck out. All right. That's your lock.
Yeah.
Getting 20.5, Pitt.
Getting 20.5.
All right. Love it.
All right.
Should I give you my upset pick of the week right now then while we're here?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna say Ohio State. And there was really not a lot of tough. My upset pick's got to be something. I always pick something radical, right? I'm not just like picking. Oh, he's a 5-point underdog, or like I'm gonna take Utah over Oregon. That's my upset. That's not really an upset pick. I'm gonna take Wisconsin to beat Ohio State this week.
Okay, I like it.
14.5 points. That's my lock. Whiskey.
Right.
Beating Ohio State. I think Ohio State's great win against Penn State. I think they're going to come down some. Like most teams that win those big games the following week, they're usually a little complacent. They're usually a little down. Wisconsin plays defense. I don't know if they have enough offense to beat them, but I don't know what the over-under is in that game, but I like the under there. I think it's going to be very low scoring.
44.5 points.
Yeah, I would take the under there. So I'm going to under next to it as a secondary bet. And then I like I think Wisconsin wins 13-10, maybe 14-13. It's going to be one of those throwback games.
When you call it under, you're talking about limbo under. You're talking about way low.
Yeah, I think it'll be a really low game, and I think Wisconsin wins. Actually, I think they're going to beat Ohio State.
All right, good one. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. This game seems a little wacky to me. USC at Cal. The Trojans are favored by 10.5. It's a 66.5 total. I can't watch Cal. I tried to watch them twice this year. They had one quarterback. They had another quarterback. They're on their third quarterback, who is from Columbus High School in Miami.
Wow.
He's a good player. He's going to be a very good player, but it's just you can't watch Cal. It's just it's not fun.
That seems like a pretty low line, 10 points. I mean, Cal's terrible.
Right.
And USC's, you know, they can score. They can't defend anyone, but they can score.
Right. Well, they might be able to defend Cal.
Right,
Yeah.
maybe. But you know, Cal what they hang on Oregon. I mean, in Washington, you were at that game. They hung like 28 on Washington, 30. They played
but it was a little like Washington was like
third stringer.
They had first three series. They ran a punt back, they ran an interception back, and they scored a touchdown. So that kind of skewed everything. You know, yeah. Okay. And Washington was terrible last week against Arizona State. They barely got out with their lives.
15-9 or something, right? 15-7.
Yeah.
Very
and
low
they ran back the winning points on an interception. Yeah.
Well, you know, not to get off the rail of the games, but you know, the Heisman, by all means, the Heisman Trophy's up for grabs, right? I mean, no one's really grabbed and said it's mine. I mean, Caleb Williams, forget it. He's done. He's not going to get it.
Right.
Penix, I thought he had a terrible game last week. I don't know what you're thinking in terms of the Heisman. Maybe a defensive guy gets it this week. That kid, JT Talamatula for Ohio State, that linebacker.
Yeah.
He's really good. I don't know if you've seen him. He's pretty good. I mean, he's really good. I like that Dylan Gabriel at Oklahoma, though, too. Seen him a couple times. He's pretty decent as well. There's a lot of good quarterbacks coming out this year.
Right. Gabriel,
Penix, Drake May looked really good against Virginia. I mean, their defense was terrible against Virginia, but he put up some points. He throws a nice spiral, Drake May. I don't know if you've seen him play. So all these, and Caleb obviously is coming out. There's going to be a lot of good quarterbacks coming out. But in terms of the Heisman, I think it's up for grabs, man.
I know, it's which is good.
Yeah, which is good, right? All right, what else?
All right. Tennessee at Kentucky.
Yeah.
These are the 7 p.m. game. Tennessee at Kentucky. Kentucky's a 3.5-point underdog. They lost badly against Georgia and Missouri. I guess the bet is, do you think that what I can't remember if it's not Mike Stoops or Mark Stoops?
Their current coach?
Mark Stoops.
Mark Stoops, yeah.
Do you think Mark Stoops can get the car in the garage and get everything fixed up and get it back on the road? Because he's a good coach. He's got a good program. Georgia's just, when they're on their game, you're done. And Missouri's tough.
Yeah, Missouri is tough. I think they beat Tennessee. I think they're gonna beat them straight. They're playing at home. They play better at home.
Right.
The thing with Kentucky, though, I mean, with Stoops, he came out. I mean, I don't know if you saw this a couple weeks ago, saying, "Hey, you guys want me to compete with the Georgias, the Bamas? I'm in. I'm in Kentucky forever. I need some money for the nil, though. I need to start paying some players because they're paying players. And if you won't let me pay players, then I can't compete with them." I mean, he said point blank, it's a financial situation. You want me to take on the big dogs? I'll keep taking them on, but I need some more dudes, and dudes cost money.
Right.
So, you know, but Tennessee, Tennessee, man, always they like dangle some little beautiful carrot in front of you, then they yank it out and
Right,
end up losing 3 games every year.
right,
So whatever. I think Kentucky beats them at home.
right.
I like Kentucky there.
All right.
And I like Stoops. I think he's a good coach. I think you're right on that.
All the Stoops are all good coach. Bobby, Michael, and
Big
Mark.
game Bob. Big game Bob.
Right. Big game Bob.
Won one big game. It's all great.
Right. Right. And then at night you have, the Ohio State whiskey game, Wisconsin game we already went over, Colorado at UCLA. I just put
I can't talk about Colorado. I'm sorry.
okay. And the last game of the night is Oregon State, who's ranked number 12. They're getting pretty high at Arizona in the desert. Only 3.5 points. And that's the a pretty good slate this Friday. I'm looking forward to it. This weekend, excuse me.
What do you think about that Oregon State Arizona game? Because I 3.5, you said that's pretty low. I mean, Arizona plays good at home, right? I mean, they're
right. I mean, they played a number of teams tough, and then they went up to Pullman 2 weeks ago and they walloped Washington State.
Yeah, they won big.
Yeah. And
Oregon State's I'm gonna take Oregon State there in a squeaker. 3.5 isn't a big number. I think that line should be higher, but because it's low, I'll take Oregon State. Seems to me like the odds makers are trying to get you to take Oregon State, so probably Arizona's gonna win, but I'll take I'll take Oregon State there.
All right.
And that looks like the slate, man. It looks really good this week. Bad losses, obviously, Virginia losing, NC State losing, I mean North Carolina losing, and then Mini, Iowa losing to Mini. That's shouldn't have happened. I mean, shouldn't have came down to the end of the game on a punt return.
Right.
I mean, Kirk Ferentz, talk about big game Kirk, man. That guy has never won a big game, ever. I mean, he's a good coach that wins 8 games every year. He'll win 8 games the rest of his life.
Right.
People are complaining about Mike Locksley at Maryland. He's going to only win 8 games for the rest of his life. Plenty of coaches have made careers out of winning 8 games their whole time. So
it doesn't say winning 8 games is a substantial thing.
I agree. I mean, as a Maryland fan, it's huge for us. We went through some periods where we won like 2-3 games for like 10 years. Right. So 8 games, I'll take that. I'll take that. I mean, and I like Locks, and I like the team. I like the program he's building. We had a little problem with Kevin Sumlin got caught drinking and driving. So I think his future is probably done at Maryland. And I like Kevin Sumlin. I met him at practice a couple times. He couldn't be any nicer. He's jacked up. He's a football coach. I mean, he screams, he curses, he runs around like a maniac. But he was on a recruiting trip too, which kind of sucks. I mean, you're recruiting a kid, you're talking to the parents, and then you go out and get a DWI. That's not a good look.
Right.
So,
have you heard anything about the Chop Robinson injury against Ohio State?
I was reading on it tonight before the show. He's definitely out against Indiana. I'm hoping he's out against Maryland, but I don't know. It looked like it was pretty severe, the injury.
I hope he's okay. That's why.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be in the pros next year, so it doesn't really matter. But I just hope he doesn't play against Maryland. I mean, after that, I don't really care because he will terrorize us last year. And without him in there, I mean, they still have a really good defense. I mean, he's the bell cow, but they're still pretty good without him.
Right.
College basketball is ramping up though, so in the future, I think
baby. Be ready.
We're a basketball school. I'm not gonna lie to you. We are a basketball school. We're trying to be a football school, but we are a basketball school.
Right.
I don't know how we're going to do the show with basketball. We're probably going to have to make it a little longer.
Right.
But we'll figure that out when we get there.
Right. Right.
All right, and we got a great guest next week.
Okay,
Rick
looking forward to
Miller,
it.
who's he's doing nil marketing for a huge marketing company around the country working with collectives to raise money for the schools. I'm trying to get Maryland to hire him now. Hopefully they will. And
All right.
he'll give us some insight on what's going on with Nil. Nil's crazy though. It is crazy.
It's the Wild West.
It is the Wild West. He does think that it's starting to transition toward universities taking over the collectives and the pro and the Nil altogether, where the boosters are getting kind of moved out of the way because they don't give a shit. Booster will pay whoever, whatever.
Right.
But the university's trying to reel that in. So we'll see
Right.
what happens with that.
Right.
All right, man. Great show, Nikki.
All
Thank
right,
you.
sir. All right.
We will talk this week. I'll be around.
All right.
Thanks, man. See you.
Thank you. Okay,
Bye-bye.
take care, brother. Thanks. See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.